Welcome to Week 11 of the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. With the Trentonians' Rich Fisher, I'm Sean Lerman, bringing to you, as we do every week, all the important information from Mercer County football. And this was really the last big week for Mercer County football. We've still got a couple of teams alive in the playoffs. We'll have one of those games on the WBCB Sports Network this weekend. Saturday, Steinert hosting Jackson Memorial at 1 p.m. on 1490 AM WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. And we'll go over some of these games from the past week, but let's start with the two Mercer County teams that picked up some big wins. Steinert had a big win against Burlington Township.
Well, they sure did, Sean. It was actually shocking. Not shocking that they won, but shocking at the way they just dominated the game. I mean, the first half they came out, they outgained the Township 222-56. They only got 13 points. They kind of stalled, but they have a really good kicker in Jordan Goodars, who we'll get to later. You know, they got ahead, then they gave up a quick touchdown to start the second half, and you could tell everybody was starting to think, oh, here comes Township. You know, they're going to explode now. And Steiner's defense went right back to work, shut them down, got another field goal. Township's defense started to play well, too. To give them credit, they made some adjustments. But Steiner didn't give anything up after that, and it was a convincing 16-7 victory. Township was missing one of their top running backs, but the Spartans' defense really shut down Drew Price. He's a great runner. They held him to 37 yards on 15 carries. They gave up 205 passing yards as they allowed some big plays, but I mean, it was really a good, outstanding defensive effort by the Spartans. Kyle Muller, absolutely incredible in the first half. Threw for 222 yards. Connor Braddock, Josh Kent, Jordan Morris, and Kyle Fisher all had a lot of receptions and some key receptions. It was just a really good effort by Steiner. And then the biggest yell of the night came when they were in the huddle, and Coach Caruso found out that Jackson, the regular
Memorial,
Jackson,
right?
yeah, Jackson Memorial had defeated Brick Township, giving Steiner the home game. So it was just a good night for Steiner. It was only a third playoff win in the school's history. The other two came in 2011 when they went to the Central Jersey 3 finals. So good job by Steiner, and you know, them and as you're going to tell us right now, Allentown keeping the ball rolling.
Allentown picked up a win as well, and you know, I'm not surprised by that as they beat Freehold Borough 10-7. We talked about it last week going into the playoffs, how they seem to kind of hit their stride at the right time those last few games of the season, and they got a win in the playoffs.
They sure did. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen with this Allentown team. I mean, if I'm sure everyone would agree that for the whole season, the defense was just, it struggled. I mean, there's no two ways to put it. So what happens? They come out and they shut down a Freehold Borough team. They give them 7 points. They came up huge. They had two big defensive stands in the first half. They had the ball at the 7 and at the 1. Freehold did, and Allentown held both times. I think they had it within the 12 3 times, and Allentown held. They forced 3 turnovers. So, you know, I mean, hey, what can you say? You talk about a team rising to the occasion, a unit that's just struggled all season, coming up with just a superlative effort. And they got the pass they needed. Jordan Winston, their offense was kind of shut down, but Jordan Winston, after fumbling a snap, threw a 43-yard touchdown to Ricky Motrum in the third quarter, and that was the winning play. You know, Winston had another Winston game. He rushed for 100 yards, completed all 5 passes for 124 yards.
That might not be another Winston game. I mean,
Well, yeah.
220-something yards of total offense that was probably one of his lowest outputs all year.
That's
but
a good
still
point.
Good one.
That's a good point. And another thing is, how many times you see him pass for more yards than he runs for,
right,
which he did this time.
That just shows how good of a season he's had for Allentown.
Right. But, I mean, you know, going back to that defense, this is only the second game all year they've allowed single digits in a game. They've given up 40 4 different times. So, you know, good job, Redbirds. I mean, that way to come through. You know, and I don't know. There were a couple other close games if you want to talk about them.
Yeah, we'll get to those, but first let's do our player of the week and team of the week, since I think we're both kind of drawing from the same area here.
Same pool, yes.
With the same pool. For me, for my team of the week, I went with the Steinert Spartans. As you said, haven't won a playoff game since 2011. They go out and they beat a very good team in Burlington Township, 16-7. They got themselves now a home playoff game coming up. A great performance by the Spartans after a tough year last year to come back and with a lot of the same players really come along and have a great year.
Right. And I'm going to take the Allentown Redbirds. Because,
right.
I mean, you had two teams win, and Allentown, they had a lot of turnover from last year, the team that made it to the South Jersey Finals. They come out, they play a Shore Conference team, and the Mercer County teams just had a god-awful time with the Shore Conference this weekend. Allentown was the only team to beat a Shore Conference team. Allentown used to be a Shore Conference member a long time ago. They come out with their best defensive effort of the year. They get the clutch touchdown. So, the Redbirds and the Spartans, if you're not going to pick one, you might as well pick the other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as player of the week, I went with Steinert quarterback Kyle Muller, completed 18 of 21 passes, 222 yards. That's exactly what Steinert is looking for out of Kyle Muller. He completed nearly 86% of his passes, and that's what their offense does. It's quick hits, it's slants, it's wide receiver screens, and that's the exact kind of line that you want to see from Kyle Muller in a win. So, Kyle Muller I went with as my player of the week.
In a win and in a first half.
Right.
He had a career game in 30 minutes, so that's pretty impressive. I, too, am going with Steiner for my player of the week. I'm going with Jordan Goodars, who he told me this Sunday he doesn't like being referred to as a kicker, and I don't blame him for that. First of all, as a kicker this past weekend, he kicked 3 field goals, 3 for 3 in field goals, and an extra point. You take away his 10 points, they lose 7-6. He actually, when Steinert's offense stalled, he kicked 2 field goals to give him a 2-possession lead at halftime, which is a big psychological thing, because if they'd have come out and tied it on that first play of that first drive of the second half, that would have been a whole different thing. But get this, his first career start at linebacker, 4 solo tackles, 4 assisted tackles, 2 pass breakups, and a sack for Jordan Goodars. Wow. I mean, you talk about doing it. He's a junior. He gets his first start at linebacker. He's been in the secondary a lot. Ken Caruso calls him the hardest hitter on the team. So you can see why Jordan Goodars doesn't want to just be called a kicker. He runs out there, and as Caruso said, he brings the wood. And, so great job by Jordan Goodars, and great job by Kyle Muller, and great job by a lot of people.
And a great article about Jordan Goodars and those Steinert Spartans up on fish4scores.com. That's fish4scores.com. I checked out that article on Jordan earlier today. And what else is up on Fish for Scores right now? What's the big news in Hamilton Township?
Everything's kind of done right now. Steinert football is the big news. All the cross-country runners got knocked out last week. The big news right now is recreation hoops. Hamilton Little Lads, Hamilton Pal Girls Basketball. We'll be getting that up later in the week, so you'll be able to see how the youngins are doing as we head into high school basketball season.
All right, that's fish4scores.com. He is Rich Fisher of Fish for Scores. I'm Sean Lerman, and we'll be right back on the Mercer County Football Show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I'm Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano, open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. This show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. And a tough week for a lot of Mercer County schools. We talked about the two winners this past week, but there were a lot of tough losses, some teams eliminated from the playoffs. We'll start with those teams who played in a playoff game this past weekend, and we'll give some of those scores right now. Manalapan beat Trenton by a score of 20-7. West Windsor-Plainsboro North fell to Middletown South 55-0. Hopewell Valley beat Matawan, or lost Matawan Regional 18-14. 18-24.
18, yeah.
Typo on my sheet here. 18-24. Matawan beats Hopewell Valley in triple overtime that game. Ocean Township beat Hamilton 35-0. Lenape a 7-0 win to beat Rancocas Valley for the second consecutive week. St. Peter's Prep 56, Notre Dame 26 in the Irish's first round playoff matchup. And those are the playoff games from our Mercer County teams this past weekend.
Yeah, a couple. I mean, obviously 3 of those games, the Mercer teams just got kind of wiped out. A couple close ones. We were at, Matt and I were at the Manalapan-Trenton game.
Right.
Tornadoes couldn't get any offense until late. Manalapan, but their defense played great. Trenton was only trailing 3-0 at halftime. Manalapan made a big mistake at the end of the half. They let the clock run out when they had the ball on the 4-yard line or something. So Trenton got a break there. But then Manalapan came out, went up 17-0. Trenton comes back. Donovan Ford hits Dante Fletcher with a quick touchdown pass. 17. Now it's 17-7. And Trenton's got a little life, but then they allow a 55-yard kickoff return on the next kickoff, and that gave them a field goal. Now it's 20-7. Trenton had another big chance. They came back. They had a 1st and goal down at the 1-yard line, I think it was. And we said, they just can't make mistakes here. And the first thing they do is fumble it away. And they lose it, and then that was the end of it. I mean, if they'd have scored, they'd have had about 3 or 4 minutes, try to get an onside kick or play defense or whatever. Trenton killed itself with bad mistakes all games, a couple bad turnovers and a couple penalties. So the Tornadoes finished 5-5, 6-4. If you reverse the forfeit, they win that they got taken care of, taken away from them. Still a good year for Trenton. Give the Tornadoes credit. The other close one, obviously a heartbreaker for Hopewell, 24-18 in Matawan. This is probably the best of the Mercer teams. This is probably the best game of the first round. The Huskies scored in the third overtime, and after both teams kicked the field goal in the first overtime, they both went scoreless. Huskies got a touchdown at the after holding Hopewell. Huskies got a touchdown, makes it 24-18. The Bulldogs came back. They were trailing in the third quarter. Joey Mordino got a 57-yard run, and Ben Shutsky just had a great game. He caught a 2-point conversion from Curtis Martin, but then they lose in the overtime. Imordino goes out with another monster game, 235 rushing yards, but Hopewell only got -3 yards of passing, so they had no air game to speak of. Hopewell finishes a good year, 7-3. And we should mention Shutsky had 13 tackles in that game, and Chris DeClerico and Nick DeGennaro had 11 each. So, good year by the Bulldogs. If they got a break here or there, they could still be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how it always comes down at the end of the year. The teams that get breaks and kind of hit their stride at the right time, and that's the difference, I think, if you look at Allentown and Hopewell Valley. A few weeks ago, things might have looked a little bit differently, but the way things rolled out, it's gone Allentown's favor here, at least for the first week of the postseason. There were some crossover games, some non-playoff games this past weekend as well, and also not a great week for the Mercer County teams in a lot of the crossover games. It was a tough
bad
week.
one.
Colts Neck defeated Nottingham by a score of 9-7. Scotch Plains Fanwood won 40-21 over West Windsor-Plainsboro South. Monmouth Regional 35 over Ewing, who scored 6 points. Milburn beat Princeton 35-7. Neptune defeated Heightstown 56-16. Pennsauken just narrowly beat Lawrence by a score of 24-21, and Hillside beat Robbinsville by a score of 34-14.
Yeah, how nice would that have been to Lawrence to finally pull one out, huh, at the end? That's tough that the Cardinals couldn't pull that out. Closest game of the year for them. And Nottingham gave Colts Neck a good run. I mean, they were winning, and then Colts Neck got a late field goal. North Stars played well. They finished 2-8, but they played real well in their last 3 games. They were all losses. They ended up losing their last 7. But let me just run through the final records of these teams now that they're done. Then we can take a break. Notre Dame finishes 6-4. They have a good bounce back year this year. Hamilton's 4-5. They still have the Thanksgiving game left. West Windsor North is 5-5, but the West Windsor North season technically is not over. They are awaiting the outcome of the Steinert-Hamilton Thanksgiving game. If Steinert loses that game, West Windsor North gets a third of the Valley Division title in the West Jersey Conference. So, great season by West Windsor North, by the way. This was a team with so much turnover. To go 5-5, I talked to Jeff Riley the other day, the coach, and he said, you know, he would never have figured this, especially moving up to North Jersey and everything like that. And great job by his kids.
And as far as just teams this year that were fun to watch,
oh God, yeah.
I mean, was there a more fun team just in pure entertainment than West Windsor Plainsboro North?
Very few. Yeah, very few. That was a heck of a fun team. You're right, on offense, they really were. Let's see. Robbinsville went 3-7. They were 3-3 at one point. Lost their last 4. Nottingham, we mentioned, 2-8. Ewing finished 4-6. The Cardinals and Lawrence and West Windsor South both 0-10. Hightstown 3-7, and Princeton finishes 4-6. So that wraps it up for those teams. Only Hamilton, Steinert, and Allentown have games left to play.
And we will talk about those games coming up after this on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll be right back.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and by fish4scores.com, fish4scores.com, and on Twitter at fish4scores. With Rich Fisher, I'm Sean Lerman, and coming up this weekend on the WBCB Sports Network, Saturday afternoon, it'll be Steinert taking on Jackson Memorial, 1 p.m. at Steinert on 1490 AM WBCB. We will go live with the Trentonian pregame show at 12:45. Matt Miro will be on the call of that game, and Rich will not be at that game because, from what I understand, you have a little event to attend.
Yeah, the Trenton Select Committee, yes, they've been nice enough to present me with an award for contributions to local sports, along with my friend Joe Gorla, who's getting the same award. Our good buddy Tommy McCarthy, the Phillies announcer, also he's getting he's getting the main event of the night. The Man of the Year. Hun School softball coach Kathy Quirk is getting an award, is getting the Woman of the Year. And our friend Rich Giolella, his wife Kathy, is getting a nice award for her contributions and what she does. And there's a couple of scholarship winners. So it's really a nice night, the Trenton Select Committee. I mean, they do a great job. You see a lot of who's who from Mercer County sports out there. They always honor people from the sports scene. I don't know how I'm getting in there, but I guess they just wanted to make sure see me dressed up one time. But it's a great honor. And
you go black tie?
Oh, black tie, baby.
Oh.
Black tie. Well, not a tux.
Okay.
Let's not get carried away. But I just want to thank the Trenton Select Committee for the award. It's very nice. It's very humbling, and I am a little upset though that I'm going to miss the Steinert game. However, I will be listening to Matt Miro on my computer, so. He better have a good performance.
I think Matt will call it a game. That should be a pretty good one on Saturday. So let's talk about that game a little bit. Steinert taking on Jackson Memorial, 1 o'clock on Saturday on WBCB. Steinert, they get a home game, but it is against a tough Jackson Memorial team.
You're right. We should mention both of these games. Both teams left. This is the Central Jersey Group 4 semifinals. So if both Allentown and Steiner win, they'll be playing for a sectional championship.
Right.
Anyway, Jackson comes into this game 6-4. Steiner is 7-2. If this was on your NCAA pool, this would be your bracket buster game. Steiner 6, and all you got to do is look at the fact that 6-seeded Steiner has their first home playoff game since 2003 because they're playing 7-seeded Jackson. But Jackson winning should never be considered an upset because you have to consider first of all they're the defending CJ4 champion. Secondly, they're 18-9 in the playoffs. This is a team built for the playoffs, and their record this year is a little bit deceiving. They've only beaten one team with a winning record, but that was Brick Township, 21-7 in last week's first round game. Brick had beaten them 2-0. 2-0 was the score earlier in the year. So the four teams that they lost to Jackson, they lost to Brick Township, Toms River North, Brick Memorial, and Red Bank Catholic. They have a combined record of 33-7. So
not losing to slouches.
No, they're not losing to slouches, and they made up for one of those wins by beating Brick Township convincingly last week. Steinert's also only beaten one team with a winning record. That came in last week's playoffs when it beat Township. But the combined record of the teams that Steinert's beaten is just 23-48. So if you're looking at strength and schedule, I think the advantage goes to the Jaguars there. One thing about Jackson, their defense has been very impressive. They've allowed 14 points in their 6 wins. They got lit up a little bit in those losses, but in their 6 wins, they've allowed 14 points, and they've had 4 shutouts. 3 of them came to start the season. Their big names on defense are Adante Davis, Mike Galwick, Nick Panandrea, and Jared Calhoun, and Tyler Towns also. Galwick is a two-way threat. This kid's a stud. He's a junior. Ran for 212 against Brick Township last week. He's run for over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns this year. Quarterback Dan Barker, how about this for efficiency? He's thrown 40 completions. 9 of them have been for touchdowns. That's 1 out of every 4 completion goes for a touchdown, and he's only thrown 1 interception. Now, Steinert's defense, as we mentioned, was just incredible last week, outstanding. But they're facing a real challenge. Gallick is right out of the Shore Conference mode. He's a big bruising runner. They like to play smash mouth in the Shore. That's what they do. They make no bones about it. Steinert's going to have to get physical with them, and that's going to be up front. You know, Frank Lucchese and Hunter Tranowski have been absolutely outstanding this year for Steinert's defensive line. The whole line has been great.
Right.
But after every single game, you know, they mention how great Lucchese and Tranowski play, and they do. They put on a lot of pressure up front, and they give the linebackers a chance to make some plays. And the linebackers have been making their presence felt. We mentioned Goodars and a couple other guys. They got a few sacks last week, so they're coming in on some blitzes. So that was a question mark at the beginning of the season. Kyle Muller, like I said, he had the best game I've ever seen in one half. He definitely needs to be just as good this week because you got to keep that tough defense off balance a little bit and let Steiner establish a running game. They only got 73 yards running last year. I think a key for Steiner could be Kyle Fisher. This kid, he wears number 20. It's the same number that a guy named Jeff Mattinelli wore about 4 years ago. Exact same players. They play defense. They do it all on offense. They can catch balls out of the backfield.
Punt
they
returner
run,
as well,
punt
right?
return. Yeah, they do it all. It's kind of funny that they're the same number. Mattinelli's now playing at the College of New Jersey. So, you know, Fisher's one of those guys, when you're going against a defense like this, you got to be a little creative, and nobody knows that better than Dan Caruso. So you got to look for some different ways to get the ball out there, and Kyle Fisher's one of those weapons. So it's just going to be a great, great challenge for Steiner against a legendary program, and, you know, it's great for them to have a home game. I hope they have a great crowd. They really do. They deserve it for the year they've had.
Yeah, it should be a really exciting game. Again, you can listen to that on Saturday, 1 o'clock on 1490 AM WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. There is another game this weekend in Mercer County. Allentown moved on. They will play on Friday at Brick Memorial, a 7 p.m. kickoff between Allentown and Brick. And the Redbirds, they're rolling along.
They are. I mean, you know, they're the 5th seed right now in CJ4. Brick is the top seed. Allentown 6-4. Brick is 8-2. If you'd have told me if you'd have played this game a month ago, I said, see you later, Allentown. But right now, I mean, this is a big challenge. And the way they're playing, you just never know. I mean, they're at the top of their game right now, Allentown is. Now, Brick, interesting. They started the season by getting thrashed against Brick Township, 36-6. Since then, they've been nearly unstoppable. They've won 7 of their last 8. No, 8 of their last 9. I'm sorry. They've won 8 and 9. The only loss came to undefeated Middletown South, which is running roughshod over in the North Jersey.
They won 55-0
Right.
over North.
Yeah,
in the first
they're
game.
just a great program. In Brick's 8 victories, they've averaged 39.5 points a game, and they've allowed 8.8 points a game. And the combined record of the teams they've beaten is 37-41, so that's not too bad. And the combined record of the teams they've lost to are 19-2, so they're tough. They're battle tested. This is an interesting game, Sean, in that you could probably play it with 7 guys and on offense, because you need 5 linemen, a tight end, and the quarterback. Because both these teams have quarterbacks who can just run like crazy. They have Jackson Liberty has a kid, Santiago. He has thrown 31 times with 14 completions. He's only thrown 31 times, so that gives you an idea how often they like to run the ball. And he's rushed 164 times for 1,375 yards and 14 touchdowns. And just like Jordan Winston has his Joe Menino, Santiago has his Tony Thorpe. Thorpe has rushed for 977 yards and 16 touchdowns. They have another guy named Eli Laverin, who averages 12 yards a carry on 31 carries and has 4 touchdowns. Not to mention, they have a field goal kicker, Matt Kipari, who's 6 for 6 in field goals, and he has a long of 47. So there's a heck of a weapon to have. Allentown, who was 2-3 at midseason, as we said, have really turned things around. They've won 3 straight. They've won 4 out of 5. They've beaten some good teams. They've beaten Hopewell and Trenton, 2 of the better teams in Mercer County, and then they had the big win over Freehold. And you really got to give Coach Jay Graver a lot of credit. He gets this team ready for the playoffs. I mean, last year they went all the way to South Jersey Group 3 finals. They dropped an overtime game to Delsey. This year, you know, they're playing at the top of their game going into the playoffs. They're getting it good. We talked about Jordan Winston and Joe Menino, and I don't even know what you can ask these kids. What else you can ask these kids to do? Winston's run 213 times for almost 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. The only difference between him and Santiago is he throws the ball a little more. He's completed 36 passes for 610 yards, and he's kicked 6 extra points. So, I mean, he's not their main kicker, but he's kicked 6 extra points.
Plays defense as well.
Yeah, and he plays defense as well, yeah. And then we've talked about Menino, how, you know, any other team, he'd be the featured back. He's the second back on this team behind Winston, and he's rushed for 1,075 yards and 10 touchdowns. So the thing is, you know, we said Winston throws a little more, and that could be key because you want to try to keep that defense off balance with throw in a few passes here and there. If they just load up the box, it's going to be tough for anybody to run. And then you have Ricky Motrum, who's no slouch. He's a stud on defense, but he's rushed for 345 yards and 7 TDs on offense, and he really is a key to that Allentown defense. But, you know, other guys have to step up, which they did last week. You know, it's interesting. If both teams run the ball the way they're capable of, this game will be over in like an hour and 10 minutes. Because you'll have that clock will just keep running. They'll just keep grinding it out. You know, what you have to see is, is the Redbirds defense going to come up with another big effort like they did last year? If they do, they could be going to a second straight sectional final. It's not an ordinary offense, though, they're going against. They're going against a great offense. So whatever they get, they'll have to earn. But, you know, these are just 2 great challenges for these Mercer teams because the short conferences, you look at all the results this week, they went crazy. There's some brackets where all 4 teams in the semifinals are from the shore.
Right.
But you know what? It's any given day, and, you know, both of these teams are loaded with confidence right now. Steiner couldn't be more confident after what it did last week, and Allentown's figuring if they can get the defensive effort like that every week, they can play with anybody. So good luck to both teams.
Absolutely. Good luck to both Steiner and Allentown. And, Rich, that pretty much does it for the Mercer County Football Show this season.
Cheer. Sure does, Sean.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
I think that we had a lot of fun with it. We joked around a little bit. It was a great year for Mercer County football. It was interesting the whole way through. It took until the very last couple of weeks for teams to really emerge as powerhouses because everyone was right there with each other all season. Everyone was beating each other. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to next year.
Yeah, so I want to thank you. You made it easy for me. I'd never done this before, so you really guided me through it. It was great, and we want to thank everybody that clicked on and looked and watched us and everything, and we hope we didn't put you to sleep after the first 3 minutes. And, thanks, and I guess we'll check in with you next year. And Sean, thanks again, buddy.
All right, thanks, Rich. He is the award-winning Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. That'll do it for the Mercer County Football Show. Good luck to both Steinert and Allentown this week. Mercer County Football Show brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.